right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Beginner to Master Azul series. In the last episode, we reached Expert, so we are at 504 ELO, and we still only have 2 losses from episode 4, and a couple of ties, including the first Expert game we played in the last episode. Where honestly our opponent should have won. But yeah, so we're doing pretty well so far. Probably get some more losses coming up here as we start playing expert games, but let us jump right in. And we actually have an expert waiting for a game, so we'll just take this. Oh, and they're 501, so just about where we are, which is good. But maybe they are not. Okay, here we go. Okay. So not the best start for us. Opponent getting 4 white is super strong. We can't take the first player tile. But we have a relatively easy decision here. So 2 blue is the only group of 2. So we're going to take that. The question is just where to play it. And I think I might play it on row 2. And part of the reasoning is like my opponent already has controlled white really strongly. So I don't want to build a column that requires a lot of white because they might be able to like start working on their white row 2 or row 3. And I also would have opened myself up to being forced to take blues and then they could get their black. Or like I said, like the 2 white. So we're going to continue with just making 1 tile plays here from the center so that we don't create any groups. And we'll just kind of react to what our opponent does. This will be a very interesting game given the start here. We're really like handicapped and are going to have kind of a hard time making something happen. So because there's no groups of tiles, there's not much interesting that we can do. What I'm going to be looking for is basically like contributing to my black rows, my black row 4 to prevent them. And then looking for whites to get grouped to take for my row 3. And so if they take another black here, then I'll be able to get 2 white. So we might need a little bit of luck heading into round 2. Okay, so that's a super interesting play. I don't see why my opponent would make this play. It does, ultimately prevent me from getting 3 white, but yeah, it kind of puts them in a dicey situation. I am a little fearful actually of playing like 1 white on row 3 just because there were so many of them this round. It'll be easy for my opponent to defend them next round. But I think I want the 2 black. So I am going to do this and basically force my opponent to give me these 2 black. Okay, and then so I'm going to take the 1 red here so that I don't need as many red for the rest of the game. And then also I know I say that negatives don't matter in round one, but because my opponent has a bit of a lead, I do want like every chance to get ahead that I can. So even being up 2-0 here, maybe that will count for something by the end of the game. 13. Okay, so this is pretty interesting because a bunch of whites have come out, even though they were the most popular color in the last round. My opponent makes this play to finish black. I have to decide if I want to defend that or not. I think the answer will be yes. And the question is, do I play it on row 1 or row 4? I think I'll go for row 4 and assume that I'll get a yellow on row 1. Actually, let's not make that assumption because our opponent might want row 2 yellow and we also want it, so it's an unsafe assumption. That being said, I'm kind of interested in playing for white on row 2. Since there's only 6 of them left, I want to get them now, and there will be yellows for later. Not taking the reds there, so kind of glossed it over and I'm running a little low on time already, but not taking the reds there because that would have made a group of 3 white, and I wasn't really looking to have all these whites group up together and get myself in trouble. So the play that I'll make now, I think, is to take the 2 white from the factory. So I am opening myself up a bit to the threat of getting these 4 yellow. But yeah, my opponent wants row 2 yellow, which is why I was comfortable doing that. And now I'll get to dump 3 whites on them at the end of the round. So I think my opponent could have actually considered taking those 2 red. When they had the opportunity. Okay, so we end up with a 7-0 lead, which is nice. We're still behind in our board development. So having the lead is important. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Our opponent obviously wants blue in multiple places. We want row 2 yellow pretty badly, actually. We don't really need to fret about getting the reds. That should come to us this round. And the blacks probably will. It's not a guarantee. So I'm actually going to take a black here and hope that my opponent will eventually put 2 yellows in the middle. Okay, so black from them. I think now's a good time to just take 1 yellow on row 2. My opponent could have ideas of getting row 3 yellow, so even like if I create the group of 2, it might kind of convince them to do it. So my opponent's playing pretty quickly. Okay. Let's not group red together. In fact, let's just take this red, fill this out. Okay, so our options are still open. Let's just finish out black. There's a slight risk here of like if my opponent takes 2 white for their row 3 maybe, I use a yellow here and then a yellow on, and then they take a yellow and I'm kind of stuck on my row 1 adjacency, but that's not going to happen, so we'll force the last tiles on them and we'll get either yellow or white. And we should be able to actually get 2 blue for the middle, which will be nice for us. Okay, so yellow for us. That's interesting. I don't understand that. Clearly we would want 2 blue more than 2 red. So if you were going to take 2 there, I would have taken the blue, not the reds. Maybe they think we're going for like full color red. I don't know. Okay, so just 1 white and our opponent has row 3 white open and we can use it. We should be fine on row 2 red and row 3 blue, and then we're kind of flexible elsewhere. So I'm not going to overthink this one too much. If I'm my opponent, I would be thinking about taking the 2 blue here to group the 3 red and make me, pay extra for my row 2 red, and also obviously fill their need on row 2. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna take the 2 red. I don't want to group these blues together because I want to pair for my row 3. If they group them together, then kind of so be it. But securing the first player tile for round 5. Okay, so I'm just going to take these blues. There's not a lot that I'm worried about in this round. My bottom 2 rows are completely open, so like I'm not going to get stuck with any negatives. Okay, so my opponent kind of threatening to build a second column. There's 3 reds left, and there's 5 blacks, so that's a good number of blacks. But I'm just going to take a red, and I'm not going to play it. Given that there are only 3 left, I don't want to leave my rows open, and I have a 16-point lead. So, one of the only ways for me to lose next round is basically to get a bunch of negatives. I do have a decision here, though. And I think I'm just going to take these yellows and let my opponent threaten this next column. Part of the reason is I do have a 16-point lead already, and they are going to be blocking up 3 of their rows. So I'm just kind of guessing that I'll be able to play some pretty strong defense here. And let's start by taking a single blue that puts their 1 white in the middle. So now they're going to have to pay to fill this. And then they'll have to pay 1 extra since the other 2 whites are grouped to fill that. So they're already at -2. Okay, so they don't even do that. Okay, so they took 2 black. So we'll just take out the 2 black that we need. Okay. So let's uh, let's just take the one black. Um, that will prevent them from getting this column. I could certainly have taken the two white instead, and that actually would have been maybe the better play because these whites are worth 5 points, um, whereas the blacks were only worth 3. So I should have let them get those blacks, but I am pretty healthily winning here, so I'm not too worried about it. They'll take the blues. Okay, and they concede. Okay, nice win for us, even after kind of a rocky start, or not a rocky start, but a kind of challenging um, first draw. And I mean, the main things we focused on, I guess, were the usual stuff. Just trying to put negatives on our opponent and, get those small point leads. So we were up by 7, I think, at the end of round 2. Um, so just building that lead from the get go, putting negatives on them, um, scoring well. All right, let's go to game 2. I am planning on doing um, a different set of videos for reviewing some viewer games. So I've gotten some requests to review games that viewers have played. So I do plan on doing that. Um, right now, I think I am going to focus on finishing out this series. There's been some drama around people having multiple accounts. Um, so a couple of people have gotten some accounts banned, and it could very well happen to me. Um, so I'm just going to try to get through these games as quick as possible in case this account gets banned. If it does, I will just record expert level games on my main account. We won't have the kind of fun challenge of getting up to master, but um, it'll be the same gameplay. So, like I said in the last episode, when I play on my normal account, I open games for experts and masters. So this is more or less like exactly the same gameplay that I play on my normal account. We are having trouble finding a game, which I guess was likely when we climbed the ranks. So fewer experts than there are strong or good or average players. But hopefully we get a game soon. Someday I will learn how to edit these videos so I can cut out these long wait times. Um, but I'll try to remember to timestamp this video so you can just fast forward to the second and hopefully third game. This is a bit of a surprising wait time, actually. Maybe this is a bad time of night to be recording already at 3 minutes. Okay, perfect. 509. So another person right around our rating range, which is great. So pretty balanced draw. Seems like my opponent should take 2 yellow or 2 red. The benefit of them taking 2 yellow is that it puts white and blue in the middle, which are the edges of row 1. So it makes it a little less enticing for me to take from the center and get the first player tile. Whereas if they take 2 red, like I'm happy to take 1 yellow for my row 1. So I would probably be looking at plays around 2 yellow if I were them, and probably just row 3 yellow, because there's plenty of opportunities to fill the row 3. Won't get stuck. Okay, so they do the red. Now they probably have ideas of getting to row 3 yellow, and sure, I could take these 2 yellow, but then I'm just putting 2 blue in the middle, and then they get to start work on their row 4. So I am just going to take this 1 yellow, get the first player token, and I suspect they might take these 2 yellows, which will leave us with 2 blue, which will be nice for row 2 or 3, probably 2. Okay, so opting for the black instead. Okay, so I think now I will take the 2 yellow, and they'll get their pick of 2 blue or 2 white for row 4 or row 5. Oh, okay. So they're staying flexible, not a bad move. I wonder, yeah, I'm trying to think if I would have just played those on row 4. The downside of playing them on row 4 is that you're committed to row 5 white, and I'm going to take 2 white here. Yeah, very curious what they'll end up building. For what it's worth, I don't think anything they've done is like egregiously wrong or wrong at all. Okay. So I want to grab these reds because I'm perfectly happy to take the 2 whites if they group them up, but I don't want to let them, potentially pivot to the same column as me and have a head start on reds. And now they have a tough decision to make because the only group of 2 is yellow, but you don't really want to be building either of these edge columns. Okay, so they go white, we'll go white. Presumably they go black. Okay, so they decide to defend the red. That's fine. So the choice they made on defending the red versus taking the black, I actually like what they did there because there's been 4 red this round and only 2 black. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of black to select from, but not a lot of red. So choosing to defend the red, like had there been 2 more red, I'd be able to complete it. Or rather, they would have prevented me from completing it. I guess it's 1 more red. You get the point. That was wrong. Okay, so good draw for my opponent. They have a lot of white and black to finish out their rows 4 and 5, and then they have yellow for row 2. Meanwhile, we're kind of stuck on row 2 with blue, and we can't do anything with adjacency, but our first play is pretty obvious. Just collect this 3 black. So things I'm looking for, ideally I'd get these 2 blue in the center together. That being said, like, it's not bad to end up with white or black in this round, just because there will be more blue later. So sacrificing adjacency for leaving myself flexible in later rounds. An interesting option here is to take 2 black for row 3, and then kind of assume that I'll get maybe 2 white and 1 blue and create like a nice little like secondary adjacency. So I think I will do that, and my opponent obviously wants black, and there's it's the second lowest color remaining, so they're going to need 5, 6, 7 of the 11 remaining. Okay, so I will take the black from the center. That way I don't group up these 3 whites and give my opponent a free 3 white, especially knowing that I might want to get it on row 2. And then conversely, I couldn't take the row 2 white because it would group the 2 blacks together. So okay, so now an interesting decision of whether or not to take these whites. Taking the whites kind of forces my opponent into taking the 2 yellow. Which means I won't get stuck with anything too bad. They could opt to not take the 2 yellow, and there's a chance I'll get left with 3 yellow here, but I think if they don't take the 2 yellow, I'm still like, I think they would be sacrificing a lot to not take the 2 yellow. So the negatives that I would take would kind of counteract the points that they're, or would be counteracted by the points that they're giving up. So as an example, like they could take 1 white and leave yeah. Okay, so kind of an interesting choice here. 2 blue is best for my adjacency. It maintains my top row adjacency and it creates more points for this situation. The only thing I'm thinking about is like I could take the 1 black. And I don't know that my opponent would take the 2 blue because where are they going to play them? And if they throw them out, that's -3. And then I'm taking maybe a yellow, and then they're taking another one for another -2. And worst comes to worst, I can play the white on row 1. So, but I don't know that they'll play this black anyway. So this is interesting. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take the black. I think taking 2 blue for them is kind of bad. Not bad in that it's a bad play. I think if I were them, I would do it. But it's not a good situation. Like it's creating some negatives there. So I'm being kind of aggressive on the defense of blacks. They need 5, 6, 7 left. There's only 11, and I still want 3 for myself. So, okay, good. Ooh, not sure about that. There are plenty of yellow left, so it's not impossible to pivot to this column. And now they have an interesting decision with this yellow, because if they play it on row 3, suddenly they're wanting like 6 yellow. So a bit risky, and they don't get any help from the draw. I also don't get any help from the draw. So it's hard for us to defend yellow. We don't have anywhere to play this black really, and our opponent does. So we're looking at like row 4 white is strong for us. Row 2 red hopefully will come to us. But I'm going to start with taking this 1 black. And my idea here is like it's really hard for me to contest this row 3 yellow this round. But if I can control the draw next round, hopefully I can contest their row 4 yellow or row 3 red that they're going to need. So something I'll be looking for is to get these whites grouped up so that I can play them on row 4. Okay. Kind of a tough decision for me on where to play these reds. Row 2 is obviously good, but then I really have nowhere to play these blacks. So I'm thinking about row 2 black and row 5 red. Am I worried about if I take the red now, getting stuck without a row 2? It is a possibility. Let's just go for it. And if my opponent takes the 3 black for their row 2 now, hopefully I can kind of manipulate my way into these other blacks because they need the 2 blue and they need one of the 2 yellows. So like if they take the 3 black here, I'll take the 2 white, which will group the yellows together. So then they'll have to take the yellows, and then I'll take the other 2 white. Okay. Interesting. Might go for the same plan here regardless. No, let's secure the blacks. And you'll notice we will not have the threat of full color black. There's only 5 left, and our row 5 is blocked up. So unless 0 blacks come out next round, we're not going to be able to do that. Okay, so my opponent's in a bit of an interesting situation themselves with row 2. Let's go for the... Actually, I'm wondering if I just take a black here so that they can't get row 2 black, then they're forced to play row 2 white. I can take the yellow, then they're forced to play... Oh no, they have 1 blue available. Okay, let's go for this. I think my opponent will take the 2 whites for row 2. And then they'll be left with nowhere to play 2 blacks in the end, because they can't really play anything on row 4 because they need to leave row 4 yellow open. So this is going to be a terrible points round for us. And it's going to be marginally better for our opponent. So we're going to have some coming back to do in the next rounds. Hopefully, ooh, so they leave their row 2 open. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. So this is -4 for me, preventing a 5-point play for my opponent. And let's load up on blue here. So there's 10 blue left, and because we're going to be down in points, we kind of need to like maximize our point scoring opportunities. So you can see we're setting up for like a huge point scoring round if we can get some of these reds and blues connected in the top 3 rows, and then row 4 white and row 5 red. Okay, if I were my opponent, I would have just played that yellow on row 4. You're going to need this to build a column. I guess... Oh my god. Okay. So... This is like honestly pretty cruel. There's only 2 blue, but I don't just want to give my opponent 3 red. But I'm kind of forced to, so... Yeah, we just have to take this 2 blue. Now the thing that will potentially happen when my opponent presumably takes the 3 red, I guess it's not a guarantee, but... Oh wow, just 1 black. Okay, so now we can hammer these reds. So we'll take this for row 2. And there's still 5 reds left. So if we don't finish row 5 red, that's okay. We're going to get it next round. We should have plenty of opportunity to do it, but it's fine if we don't. Okay. So, yeah, I was looking to... I don't want to get stuck with these yellows, which means I kind of have to take from the center here. And the play I want to make is actually taking this black. To prevent my opponent from getting row 2. Not only does it prevent them from scoring on row 2, it reduces the number of points that they'll get for scoring on row 3. And this is kind of a tough play for my opponent, so one thing they should be keeping in mind is getting 4 colors in the middle, maybe. so that they can try to stick me with these yellows, but also they want the yellows, which is challenging for them. So I think, taking this one black for row 2, I think was a mistake if you weren't going to maybe immediately follow it up with the other black. Like you can see the pickle they've gotten themselves in with this red. Okay, so 3 colors in the middle, so we can dump all these yellows on them. And we're going to take this for row 1. And now, wow, we might even get row 4 white. I had kind of forgotten about it this round, to be honest. But they kind of have to take blue here. Um, I mean, they could take white, I guess, but it's pretty dicey. They'd have to throw it away or play it on row 5. Okay. So they will be set up for all kinds of column threats. And they still have the point lead. But note that we don't have to end the game this round. They can't end it, so we can be picky about whether or not to end it. And actually, they can't create a second column, so there's only 2 white left. So they won't be able to do that, so we're okay there. So knowing that, I think I will go for ending the game. Basically, like the points that I'm going to score from these top 2 row blue is going to be massive. So they're going to score, 4 plus 8. So they're going to score 12 from their top 2 rows. I'm going to score 8 plus the 2-point bonus is 10, and then 9 plus the 2-point bonus is 11. So I'm going to score 21 to their 12. So let's not get cute with this. Though, yeah, let's actually. So if I take 2 blue from the factory, I do group blacks together and kind of force them to take this black. But then other blues can get grouped, so I do have my eye on their row 4 blue. Obviously, I need 1 red. I'm not too worried about it. I don't see them, defending that too hard. One yellow, that's a solid play from them. So I can't let the reds get grouped up. Okay, let's shut down this row 4 blue and leave ourselves flexible with reds and group some blacks up. So I'm going to pay a -1 to do this, but now I don't have to worry about this row 4 blue at all. Okay, so we will end up giving them 1 point for row 4 red. But they should end up with, if they play the row 4 red, they'll end up with these 3 blue negatives. So that's fine by us. Again, not a lot of calculation on my end, but I talked about like how much my top two rows are worth, like what was it, 10 points or 11 points more than theirs, and I'm scoring an additional 5 on row 5 that they're not getting. So I know that I'm scoring like 15 points more. So despite being down by 2, not worried about this. And they're out of point scoring opportunities other than 1 point from row 4 red. So really nothing they can do here. Honestly, the best play is probably to take 1 white. Taking 1 white means that my only play left is red or yellow. Nice, so they do it. So what's best for me to take? Is it red or yellow? Basically, if I take red, I'm sorry, if I take red, they take 2 yellow, I take 2 black, they play 3 blue. Yeah, I'm just not going to overthink it. Just take some yellow. This means they'll get stuck with either the blue or the red. So they should take, oh no, they can play the black. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, maybe this is going to get scary. I didn't expect to end up with this many negatives. Okay, so we're going to come out just ahead on the on the row bonuses. So only win by 3. So I was a little too cocky at the end there, and yeah, didn't see myself getting stuck with the 4 blue. I don't know if I miscalculated there, or maybe I made the wrong play with these yellows. Maybe I needed to, yeah, so what I should have done is taken the 2 black, right? So if I had taken the 2 black and just thrown them away, then I get to play the yellow or the red, and then he takes the blue. Instead, I played the yellow, which means I couldn't take the red. So when he took the 2 black, I had to take the red or the blue. So that was a mistake. Should have been take the 2 black, throw them away, and then play the yellow or the red. All right, let's do one more. So that probably would have brought it to like a 6, maybe 7-point win or something instead of a 3-point win. So need to be a little, that was a little sloppy on my part. Should have paid closer attention to my options there at the end. I didn't even consider taking the black, and that was clearly correct. It would limit me to only 2 negatives. I guess 1 more negative if I took the 4 reds for row 3, but I would have gained 3 points from playing those reds. So that would have offset the extra negative. And instead I ended up with like 5 negatives. So should have only been an extra 2. Let's hope we get someone quickly. Let's see, we're at 49 minutes on the recording, so trying to think of what mistakes my opponent potentially made in that game. And one was, I think they had an opportunity to play a yellow on row 4 when they didn't, but I wonder if pivoting columns in the first place was a good idea. So they decided to pivot columns, I think, in round 3, which, yeah, kind of puts you in a, like if you pivot columns in round 3 and you have completed row 5, or, maybe that makes sense, but I think they had 3 blue left on row 5. They needed 4 yellow for row 4. Their row 3 was blocked by a yellow, so they couldn't even work on row 3 red until round 5, I think. So, yeah, put themselves in a bit of a tough spot after that column pivot. In a game that they were otherwise winning, they were leading for most of it. All right. We haven't gotten to go first at all today, so this will be a good episode for being the second player. Okay, so opponent's setting up to build on the left side. I could start by taking 2 yellow. The thing is, I don't want to take from this factory because they're going to scoop up whatever gets dumped into the center. So I either want to take from the center or take this 2 yellow. I think I'll take the 2 yellow because I was going to say if they don't take the other 2 yellow, then I have a really big lead on yellows, which will be very tough for them. But yeah, okay, let's see what they go for. Okay, so let's go for just like dominating yellows. Play this on row 3. So one option here would be to take 2 blue for row 4 and kind of build this 4th column. But I'm kind of curious what they'll choose to do here. Because if they take 2 blue, yeah, now I've got the option of going to black on row 5. And them taking 2 white is kind of awkward. So they might do it, but it would block up their row 3 if they chose to play it on row 3. Okay, so we'll see that pan out. Get another black. So if I were them, I would just take this yellow and play it. Okay, I don't understand this. So, okay, so it's I mean, it's not that bad in reality. So pivoting to the second column, and they're just going to say, hey, I got a bonus row 4. So I've talked about when it's okay to like mismatch your row 4 and row 5, and it's okay when you complete one. I don't know that I would have made that choice. It still puts you in a tough situation because basically, like, my opponent could have played yellow and he would need 4 more tiles on row 4 and 5. And instead of needing 4 more tiles, he needs 9 or 8 more tiles. So it's a lot of yellow. Okay. So what do we want to do here? Black is good for us. Yellow, I guess we go for row 4 yellow, potentially. As to be expected. So this is an interesting play. Because if I go 2 blue, I can group up these yellows, but then he just gets row 4 yellow. So I think I actually want to create 5 yellow. And I'll do it by taking the red, which is good for our row 1. We're looking at row 2 blue, maybe even row 3 blue, and getting potentially row 2 white actually. So what I've done here is like I've eliminated his yellow option for row 2 basically. So really he should be thinking about, yeah, white here. And now what I'm going to do is eliminate his yellow option for row 1 by doing this. Okay, let's take the red. And we need row 3 blue, so we are happy. So my opponent has a lot of like bottom row activity. They already have 2 row 4s. See how that pans out. Some kind of crazy draws here. Okay, so I don't want these blues to get grouped up. And I'm trying to think of how much I want I kind of want the whites to get grouped up. So I think I'll take from here. I don't really see a super strong reason to have the first player tile next round. The main reason would be to defend yellows, which my opponent really needs. Ooh, okay, sure. Okay, so let's go for, I can't imagine they also defend row 3 white because it blocks up their ability to progress on black for this column. So maybe I'll regret that, but there's also still 10 white. Of course I need 7, but so let's go ahead and get our row 2 red. Okay, now this is maybe slightly odd. Because now you're going back to column 1. You're not going to be able to do both. I guess you could actually, but with 8 yellow left and you need 3 of them for up here, you're literally trying to get all of the yellows. So we'll take a black for row 1, kind of force their hand. And we'll just play this so they'll be able to get their row 2 red, but wasn't willing to give up on the whites here. And we can play these blue, so could have thrown those out for -3, but I'm good on blue on my upper rows, so shouldn't be hard for me to just dump blue in the bottom. Okay, only 1 white. And by taking it, it means we give our opponent 3 blue. So a question of whether or not we want to take that white. I think I'll just take the first player tile for the last round. My opponent certainly can just take this white and defend, but we take a black, they take a black, we force a ton of yellows on them. Oh, but they want 5 yellow. So that's where I missed. But kind of worth it, right? Like, they get 5 yellow. I take, okay. Yeah, I guess it makes sense for them to take the blues first if you're thinking that I won't take the yellows. I actually liked their idea of taking the blues first. For me to take those yellows is like an additional minus 11 or something, or minus 9. So, yeah, let's get these blues out of the way so I don't. Actually, this is interesting. The only thing that's really threatening next round is whites, which there are 9 of, and I have like all of the rows to play whites. So there's a question of, do I just take the -1 instead of, it would give them the inability to finish the game next round. So I go an extra -3, but I score 1, so it's -2. Let's take the red. So this eliminates their ability to score a 10-point play next round with 1 yellow. So now this yellow is, I mean, still a nice 7-point play, but okay. And as we expected, just a ton of white. So how do we want to do this? I like the idea of putting the 2 yellow in the middle, just make them pay for it. We're only up by 4, so we need to be careful here. We might lose, but we don't really have an option but to just go all out on whites. Takes the 1 yellow first. It's interesting. Okay, let's put the black in the center. We should be able to get either row 3 black or even better, row 3 red, or row 3 white even, but I assume they're gonna try to dump some whites in the middle here. I'm not gonna be able to stick them with any negatives, so there's actually not like a lot to calculate this round because it's kind of just gonna play out as it plays out. I'm obviously gonna do my best to avoid negatives, but I think I have minimal exposure as well. Okay, so let's grab. So I want to grab these whites, the 3 whites, so that they can't get row 4, any points on row 4. because that would definitely kind of screw us. So now I'm opening myself up to some negatives, black or red. And I'll end up taking some of those. But yeah, I think with the bonuses, probably end up losing. We can do the math. Kind of some, I mean, tough tile draw with not being able to complete whites earlier. I obviously had the option to complete the white last round and chose not to. So, maybe I made a mistake there. Of course, we kind of have to do this. So yeah, maybe not completing the white last round was a mistake. I don't know that it would have like opened up much for me. Not sure that was the right play for my opponent. So if my opponent takes 2 blue, I'm forced to take -5, and they could. Yeah, I guess it's fine. Yeah, because if they took 2 blue, they'd have to throw it away, and then I take 3 red, and then they play 3 black. But yeah, this extra 2 points isn't worth much. So let's see how it shakes out. All right, my lead is big enough to survive an extra column bonus. It's actually enough to survive even another column bonus. So our adjacency was so good at the top there. Those whites just scored so many points. So end up winning by 9, even though my opponent got a second column. Yeah, and actually, like, getting 2 rows for a 4-point bonus means that this second column bonus was only worth 3 points for them relatively, since they didn't get any rows. Okay, awesome. So three games in the books, all wins, which is great. And some very interesting tile distributions. We're up to 535 now. So yeah, hopefully those were pretty instructive. I think a lot of interesting situations. In this game, I didn't correctly calculate at the end and nearly lost for it. This game, my opponent got off to a really fast start with 4 white on the first play. So we kind of saw how to navigate that. I think we played some heavy defense on black, made some plays to create like pseudo adjacency. So we gave up like row 2 adjacency in one round, I think, and instead, like, we had white and yellow, and instead of taking row 2 blue, we defended black on row 3 and then took row 2 white and row 1 red, blue, I think. No, we ended up with row 1 black, but yeah, so we kind of like, for the sake of defending black, gave up row 2 adjacency, but tried to make up for it by creating a new line. So yeah, really interesting games today. Hope you enjoyed them, and I'll see you next time.